From the Joy News Center. This is News at 8.
Good evening and welcome to the Primetime News Bulletin here on the Joy News Channel. Tonight, government optimistic a meeting of all parties involved in current strike by doctors tomorrow would produce a fruitful outcome. Kolibut Teaching Hospital denies closure of its children's block over doctors' strike. Counsel for the Electoral Commission in the election petition hearing takes over with cross-examination of the petitioner's chief witness, Dr. Mamadou Baumia. Living in the vicinity of the Kotoka International Airport could be prestigious, but the EPA is warning it could in the long term cost you the ability to hear well. And 8-story building collapse in Bangladesh claims nearly 90 lives. We also have sports, business and showbiz coming up.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
Now, very first story, government says it is optimistic of an imminent end to the current strike by doctors. Health Minister Sherry Aite, on a tour of some hospitals affected by the strike, told journalists the parties involved in ending the stalemate will be meeting the doctors on the crisis tomorrow. Her comments are about the latest from government, which has largely been quiet on the matter in recent times.
The La General Hospital is a key medical facility serving over 200,000 patients living in and around La and other surrounding communities. The hospital currently doubles as a training center for young medical officers who serve their housemanship year there by rendering some medical services. On a normal day, attendance at the hospital's outpatient department is in excess of 100 patients seeking attention for one form of medical care or the other. But today, the situation is totally different. Several pews at the hospital's outpatients department lay empty with few people in attendance, leaving nurses and administrators with little to do.
You see, the patients have been told that is what is happening. They are not even coming. So it's on the part of the patients, that's all. Because it's all on air that we are on strike. So it has gone into the patients. They are not even coming around. So it is not really our fault. Totally. You'll be surprised the day we are told to come. You see how patients will just flood here.
Medical superintendent at the hospital, Dr. Patrick Frimpong, says his colleagues may be on strike, but he cannot ignore patients in need.
If I'm passing and patient is in need, I don't think I will pass by the patient. But because of the problem here, it's not becoming well structured like before. We are part of GMA, so we are GMA staff. We make sure that we pass around every day to see whatever is happening. If GMA will call us to a meeting, that's what we are waiting for.
Health Minister Sherry Aite, who toured the La and Mamobi hospitals to ascertain the impact of the strike on hospital facilities, said the impasse would be resolved soon.
We have reached a point where I think that within the shortest possible time we should find a solution to one of the nagging issues. Tomorrow, they will be meeting the National Tripartite Committee, and then they will meet all the labor, unions, the Minister for Labor and Employment, Fair Wages, Labor Commission, and I believe that they will come to some kind of an arrangement.
Government, she noted, would expand and improve facilities at the two hospitals and other public health facilities in the capital to enable them deliver quality health care.
These cities, they are going to be upgraded to support the teaching hospitals, for the, making sure that at least we can train more doctors. For the districts, we are going to upgrade the district hospitals also into a high standard, hospitals. At the same time, we're going to have more polyclinics outside Accra for, smaller communities. Yeah.
The minister also watered down the threat by the Nurses and Midwives Council to embark on an industrial action, noting that government had already met with the nurses group and no such action would materialize.
The Kolebu Teaching Hospital, meanwhile, has denied reports its children's block has been closed due to the doctor's strike. The closure was widely reported by sections of the media yesterday. Meanwhile, medical assistants are said to be playing the role of doctors at some of the facilities. Emmanuel Ante visited the hospital and has come through with this report.
Though there were few doctors at post and fewer patients to be attended to, it was business as usual at the children's block. Contrary to the reports, it had been shut down. The hospital's PRO cleared the air.
It is untrue that the Department of Child Health or Children's Department in Kolebu has been closed down. It's not been closed down. The doctors are there working, seeing their inpatients, and the nurses are also supporting them to carry out their duties. But at the OPDs, the activity level has gone down. But what is happening is that the nurses are still on standby and helping patients who may have traveled all the way from the regions to this place.
My checks also revealed some of the doctors, even though claimed would only be attending to inpatients, were servicing some fresh cases, contrary to the Ghana Medical Association's directive. I, however, got the understanding it was out of fellow feeling as explained by this nurse.
Once we have patients on the ward,
so give us
they should be attended to. They are already in. So we can't abandon them and go away. We have a few of the doctors around.
The hospital's PRO also denied claims medical assistants were playing the role of doctors.
On Sunday, the Ghana Medical Association issued a statement that they were going to limit their services to inpatients. So at the moment, the doctors are still at post and they are taking care of the inpatients as we're told in the statement they issued on Sunday. So at the moment, nobody is taking their position in this hospital because they are still there, but they are just limiting their services to the inpatients.
The Ridge Hospital also had an arrangement similar to what pertained at Kolebu, where some doctors were quietly attending to fresh patients, even though our cameras were not allowed to film. Most patients, though, were referred to either the police or 37 military hospitals. But unlike the case at Kolebu, medical assistants were helping with doctors' roles. Emmanuel Ante, Joy News, Accra.
The police hospital has received a donation of equipment to help it cope better with the pressure brought on by the withdrawal of services by doctors at the other government hospitals.
The PRO at the police hospital, ASP Juliana Obeng, says the number of patients is overwhelming. She, however, explains the Ministry of Health has donated additional equipment to help ease the pressure.
We received some 50 beds and mattresses from the Ministry of Health. We are grateful to the ministry. And then just yesterday they brought us some hospital equipment that included theater beds. It also included anesthetic machines. We also got some patient trolleys as well. And we got infusion pumps, theater tables, defibrillators, among other things. What we have done is to recall back our doctors and nurses who went on leave. We have again recalled back our medical staff who have gone on training. We have recalled them back because we need more hands.
The hospital, she adds, has also converted corridors into labor wards and erected an air-conditioned tent.
We have also opened up our various clinics at the regional levels. We can talk of Ho, Kwalugu, Bolgatanga, Kumase, Koforidua, Winneba, amongst others that we have instructed and empowered to attend to civilians who would come in. Most of these hospitals are not clinics, that we open up to civilians.
Despite the government intervening with donations, a resolution of the strike will be needed very soon if deaths are to be avoided.
Now, the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association is also threatening to withdraw emergency services by Monday, April 24, if its concerns are not addressed. The pharmacists have also been on strike for the past 2 weeks. GOSPA, at a news conference to announce their threat today, stated its grievance over what it describes as the baseless and unfair market premium unilaterally and arbitrarily imposed on the pharmacists since October 2011 will have to be fully addressed. According to GOSPA, in spite of several meetings, assurances and engagements with all stakeholders, it appears nothing is going to be done. Now, the National Labour Commission has filed a suit seeking to enforce its directive of 10th April 2013, asking the Ghana Medical Association to call off its strike and resume work. The writ was filed at the High Court on Tuesday, April 23. The case is scheduled to be heard on Tuesday, April 30, 2013. For more on the legal action embarked on by the NLC, we have been joined on the line by its Executive Secretary, Edward Breku Buedu. Good evening, sir, and thanks for your time. Can you first explain to us what the suit is all about?
Yes, pursuant to Section 172 of the Labour Act, when the National Labour Commission issues a directive, an order, or makes a decision, and the party does not comply with the decision of the Labour Commission, the Commission may go to the High Court to enforce this decision.
All right, so which decision exactly are you going to enforce now?
It is a directive which was issued by the Commission on 10th April 2013, specifically to Ghana Medical Association to call off its strike and resume work immediately if they failed to comply with.
Okay. Now, I'll kindly urge you to reduce the volume on your set because we're getting some feedback from there. But even as you're asking, whilst you're doing that, even as you're asking the doctors to resume work, there's also this claim or the ruling that you issued or the directive that you issued that the doctors are insisting government should also be asked to follow up on the directive and abide by that directive. What are you doing about that? Putting pressure on government as well?
Yeah, following the directive by the Commission, in fact, in the same directive that asked Ghana Medical Association to call off its strike, the Commission issued a directive to the other party to also comply with certain schedules for payment of 2012 market premium arrears to members of GME. Immediately after the issuance of that directive, GMA, together with the other parties, went into a meeting at the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations and actually signed an MOU. The president of GMA signed that MOU, and yet they failed to go back to work.
Well, the point they're making is that when they signed that MOU, they signed the MOU with the understanding that they will present it to their members before they give you any assurance.
On the face of that MOU, there is nothing there to indicate that they were going to, seek endorsement or approval from the National Executive Council of GME. He signed as the president of GME. That document was also signed by the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, by a representative of the Ministry of Finance, and then witnessed by the Secretary General of TUC. So there is nothing on the face of that record that they were going to seek approval from any other authority.
All right. Now, so what exactly on what basis exactly are you taking them? Because in one breath I hear that it's based on the directive you issued, and in another breath you're suggesting that they signed an MOU and they are not abiding by this MOU.
Yes, we are not talking about they not abiding by the MOU. We are saying that when the Commission gave the directive, in that the directive were in phases. Some to the other parties, that Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, and then one aspect of it to the GME to call off its strike. So when the Commission directed that they should go back and negotiate the issues, they agreed, went into negotiations and signed an MOU, which means that the other parties have started complying with the directive of the National Labour Commission. And yet GMA failed entirely to comply with the directive to call off this strike and return to work.
All right, thank you very much, Edward Briku Buedu, who is the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission. Thank you very much for joining us with that clarification. But we just had the statement coming in from the Junior Doctors Association, and I'll just read this one to you. It says, the attention of the Junior Doctors Association has been drawn to attempts by the National Labour Commission to sabotage efforts of the Ghana Medical Association at solving the current impasse by filing a suit against the GMA, trying to compel the leadership to call off the ongoing industrial action without solving the core issues of conversion difference and reduced pensions. We, the Junior Doctors Association, would like to state emphatically that we shall not be intimidated, and that even if our leadership is compelled to call off this action, we shall resist and continue to fight until the issues of conversion difference and reduced pensions are resolved. To the JDA, this is a fight for our future, and nothing can dissuade us from this just cause. And it's signed by the JDA chairman, Dr. Titus Beyo. We're taking a break at this point, but there's more news coming up. Don't go away. Right, before we go on with the rest of our stories, the question we're asking you tonight on Facebook is share with us your personal stories about how you or persons you know are coping with the current strike by doctors, and if you have any ideas as to how this can be resolved, just get onto our Facebook wall and just post your comments. I have a few comments already coming in, and I'll bring them to you in due time. But counsel for the second respondent in the 2012 election petition, the Electoral Commission, today began his cross-examination of the chief witness of the petitioners, Dr. Mamadou Bawumia. Ola Kwashi Aiden took over from his colleague counsel for the first respondent, who brought his interrogation of the same witness to a close, having had him in the box for 5 days. The hearing of the election petition seeking to annul the results of the 2012 general election has been adjourned to Thursday, April 25.
Cross-examination continued on day 6 of the hearing of the substantive case and saw lawyer Tony Litha closing his cross-examination. He quizzed the second petitioner on the issues surrounding overvoting and voting without biometric verification, among others. Lawyer for the Electoral Commission, Kwashi Aiden, also commenced his cross-examination of Dr. Bawumia.
You said, Dr. Bawumia, that someone can can put in signatures, etc. How about the signatures of the polling agents?
Well, as I said, we have polling sheets where we have agents, but we still have 0 scores, and so on. At the end of the day, you will need to validate the integrity of the process. And I'm saying that if you have duplicate serial numbers, you cannot trust the results that are coming, because no polling station is uniquely identified.
He questioned Dr. Bawumia on the EC's guidelines for the election, the role of polling agents and the process of special voting, among other issues.
Bawumia, you said that this provides the opportunity for manipulation.
It does.
Here, you are required not to talk about opportunities, you have to show how manipulation occurred. Well, so how do you say that it affected the results, the fact of polling stations with the same serial number?
The violations and the irregularities that we have identified have a high correlation with the duplicate serial numbers, as I've said. 74% of all cases of overvoting have occurred with duplicate serial numbers. 74% of all cases...
I think this is the third time that we are hearing these percentages.
One major issue that came under contention was the matter of rogue or unknown polling stations, to which the petitioners had indicated that they had not sent any polling agents. Lawyer Kwashi Aiden submitted into evidence letters he claimed were from the petitioners to some polling agents to man the rogue or unknown polling stations. Hearing has been adjourned to April 25.
The sole Commissioner for Judgment Debts is blaming state institutions responsible for disbursing funds for the many outstanding judgment debt claims made on government. According to him, government has been saddled with these obligations because of the unnecessary delays in disbursing such payments after they have been awarded by the courts. Justice Apau made the point at today's sitting of the Commission.
Where there are genuine judgment debts, the state institutions or representatives involved realize that this is a genuine judgment debt. But when it comes to, settlement or just paying, they drag their feet and drag their feet and drag their feet. A judgment of, say, 10 million will turn into, say, 50 billion.
The day's sitting, which started at about 10:30 a.m., lasted a little over an hour and heard 4 cases. The first, Benjamin Niteku Hammond of Benlio Arts Enterprise, brought a claim against the Ministry of Works and Housing, which he alleges fraudulently used a design he presented to them in a proposal.
I recommend to the Ministry of Works and Housing to pay you what? To pay me 30% of the total work of a metal fence design.
Cutting through a rather long narration, the Commissioner explained his inability to grant his request.
You are claiming that you did some work. Yes, my lord. With regard to the Colin Lagoon project. It is only when you go to court, call evidence, call witnesses, support your case, and the judge gives judgment in your favor. Then you can execute your judgment against the state.
MCE for Esnafo North Municipal Assembly, Alhaji Mohammed Kweku Doku, says a High Court ruling directing that he is paid salaries and end-of-year service benefits due him has not been adhered to.
The judgment was given in July 2004.
It's good this matter has come before us, for us to know the reasons behind some of these judgment debts and the fact that the amounts, multiply within years because of the failure of certain government officials to act.
Samuel Woolhouse also appeared to make demands for his salaries as well as end-of-service benefits after his appointment was terminated in 1984.
I sought relief for the payment of my accrued salaries over 29 years. That the government caused the termination of my appointment, and I was to be prosecuted for causing economic sabotage. So I approached the Commission to assist me recover my lost salaries, 33 years of end-of-service benefits, and compensation for defamation of my character.
Petty infractions, in some courts or within the judiciary should not make people lose confidence in the court. That's the only way you can go and address, have your issue addressed for you.
After sitting through the proceedings, Rockshall International Limited, represented by its lawyer, Emmanuel Goka, offered to withdraw its petition. The committee will continue sitting on Tuesday, April 30 this year, with appearances by Fandesco West Africa Limited, Mahogany Furniture Company Limited, Stephen Odro Kwarteng of the Lands Commission, and William Pobi of the Attorney General's Department. Kifty Andopia, Joy News.
Meanwhile, the Sole Commission for Judgment Debts appears to be assuming a role not quite captured by its mandate, even though it is supposed to investigate questionable settlements made in the past and advise how to avoid them in the future. An increasing number of its proceedings have been dedicated to persons asking the Commission to facilitate their claims, as happened today. Lead counsel for the Commission, Kofi Sokbo, however, justifies the entertainment of such petitions, explaining it should discourage others who intend to make similar submissions.
The requests that the petitioners were making did not fall within the mandate of the Commission. Hence, the sitting this morning to advise the persons and the company involved to take other actions other than petitioning this Commission. Well, I wouldn't say that people do not understand the mandate of the Commission. But you see, when a man is frustrated, I mean, the man, that person would like to exploit all avenues, whatever the repercussions will be. So even though most of them know what the commission is doing, they feel that after having petitioned a whole lot of establishments and setups, maybe the commission will be their last stop where their grievances will be solved. It will not have any serious implication because that was why we decided to sit in public. We have treated a whole lot of them, and we decided to bring this four out so that the commission will give a ruling on them so as not to encourage persons who intend to bring similar petitions over here to bring them. Finally, we have a time frame, but these ones are only a fraction of what we are doing over here, so it will not necessarily affect our work at all. Yes, we are really on course.
A residence or office in suburbs around the Kotoka International Airport, such as East Legon, may be prestigious. But the Environmental Protection Agency says if the noise level in such neighborhoods exceeds 85 decibels, you are likely to suffer hearing impairment in the long term. It is therefore advising such residents to constantly use earplugs to protect their eardrums from the noise pollution.
Noise is inevitable, but it becomes a pollutant after a person is exposed to it over time, coupled with a high intensity and frequency. In Ghana, the Environmental Protection Agency, per their guidelines for controlling noise, does not permit sound levels in residential areas to exceed 55 decibels during the day and 48 decibels at night. At predominantly commercial and heavy industrial areas, the EPA only allows 70 decibels of noise.
When sound travels through the ear, naturally in the ear canal, it is amplified and it gets to the eardrum. The drum is just like the normal drum that we play, and if the sound that is coming has a very high intensity, the frequency is high, and the exposure is very high, it tends to perforate the eardrum, so it can cause damage to the eardrum. Research has shown that pregnant women can easily, that are exposed to high sound levels for a longer duration, can sometimes have miscarriage.
The deafening sound from aircrafts when taking off and landing can damage severely eardrums of persons working or living close to them. The EPA noise alert is, however, not restricted to persons living around airports. It says persons living around heavy industrial areas are also at great risk.
It's unlawful to live in an industrial area. If you do that, you do it at your own peril. And I think we are not enforcing the law. All this boils down to enforcement of the law. It's a flight path, there should be no settlement, especially very close to the airports. That's why they are designated at what? Airports.
The agency intends to embark on a massive campaign against noise pollution across the country, but wants the enforcement of the Local Government Act, 1993 Act 462, Section 296, which makes it an offense to willfully and wantonly make noise to disturb others. Till such acts are punished, as the law stipulates, and people are prevented from residing in noise-prone areas, sign language may probably become handy for more than a few Ghanaians in the next few years. Abigail Adumakwenchi for Joy News.
Up next, we bring you business news.
Joy News Business is brought to you in.
It appears government, employers and organized labor are having some challenges in agreeing on the new daily minimum wage before the May 1 deadline. Joy Business has learned the three parties today failed to meet to finalize discussion on the new minimum wage. Sources say whilst organized labor is now proposing an 18% increase over the 2012 minimum wage of 4.48 pesos, the government and employers are prepared to pay a 15% increase. Joy Business has gathered organized labor wants to use the increase as benchmark for salary adjustments this year. Now, fast-track the approval of First Rand's takeover of Merchant Bank, or the institution could go down or lose its license to operate. That's a plea from staff of Merchant Bank to the Governor of the Bank of Ghana. A petition to the Governor cited by Joy Business paints a sorry state of the bank unless investors come to inject some adequate capital in the business. The petition also reveals that the bank has also fallen short in meeting the central bank's capital adequacy ratio for bank operations. According to the staff, one of the surest ways their jobs can be protected is when the takeover of the bank is approved by the central bank. They also say they remain resolute to go ahead with the intention to hit the streets if the deal is not approved. Merchant Bank last year accepted 176.4 million Ghana cedis offer from First Round in exchange for 75% stake in Merchant Bank. The year-on-year producer price index increased by 10.7% between March 2012 and March 2013, representing an increase in producer inflation by 1.6 percentage points relative to the rate recorded in February 2012.
The producer price index measures the average change over time in the prices received by domestic producers for the production of their goods and services. The producer price for Ghana relates prices in a particular month to those of the base period September 2006. The producer price index and corresponding inflation rates are presented for all industry with breakdown for three major subsectors, that is mining and quarrying, manufacturing, and utilities, comprising electricity and water.
The month-on-month change in producer price between February 2013 and March 2013 was 2.6%. In March 2013, the producer price inflation in the mining and quarrying subsector decreased by 1.4 percentage points over February 2013 rate of 7.8% to record 6.4%. Manufacturing, which constitutes more than two-thirds of total industry, increased to 14.2% from a rate of 11.4% in February 2013. The rate for the utilities subsector was 0.1 percentage points lower than that of February. During the month of March 2013, 5 out of the 16 major groups in the manufacturing subsector recorded inflation rates higher than the sector average of 14.2%. During the last 12 months, the producer price inflation in the petroleum subsector exhibited a downward trend until March 2013, when it increased by 12.5 percentage points.
Unilever Ghana Limited recorded a drop in its operating profit from 38 million Ghana cedis in 2011 to 24.5 million Ghana cedis in 2012. Managing Director of the company, David Murray, blamed the drop on the depreciating value of the cedi and the recent energy crisis. He was speaking at the company's 42nd annual general meeting in Accra.
Unilever Ghana Limited attributed its decline in operational profit to three main developments: the general increase in the price of goods, the energy crisis, and the depreciation of the cedi by an average of 17.5% in 2012. As a result of the energy crisis, Managing Director David Murray said the company was forced to develop an energy generation facility to enable them produce power internally to run their operations.
We had two challenges with energy. One is the increasing costs, but also the reliability of supply. We did have a lot of interruptions to supply, not just of electricity, but also of water supply. But with regard to electricity, we have invested in our own internal generation, which has been operating from the beginning of 2013 using gas. And therefore, we have not only managed to lower our cost of energy, but also to improve reliability.
He is, however, hopeful the company can save about 15% of its revenue this year in view of the measures taken to address the national energy crisis.
We have installed what is called a combined heat and power plant. This uses gas to generate electricity, which we use to run the factory. It also generates steam, which is used for all the heating operations. And we anticipate that with the coming on board of Ghana gas from Jubilee oil fields, our cost of energy will go even lower. We've already had 4 months of the year, and the Ghana cedi has been very stable. The outlook is that it will remain stable, that it will go no more than 2 Ghana cedis to the US dollar, and therefore we believe that if this stability is maintained, then our profit performance will continue to strengthen.
Mr. Muraithi promised Unilever will continue to improve upon its operations in order to achieve its target of doubling its size by 2015. Meanwhile, the company has proposed a dividend of a little over 25 pesos per share to be paid from its 2012 profit. This represents 100% payout of the 2012 profits.
Now, hopefully, you no longer need to use the Lotto kiosk or watch a seller in your neighborhood to give directions, because internet search engine Google has on offer a more detailed and up-to-date map of the country. It's that convenient you could email or send directions to your location to a smartphone. Officials explain that Google Navigation Services offers voice prompts with the directions, as happens elsewhere in advanced countries.
Google says having started with a few roads in Accra and Kumasi, all major roads as well as cities and towns have now been captured on Google Maps.
With our partners like the Ghana Tourism Authority, they've been working on covering all of Ghana. So all the major streets and roads across Ghana have been mapped. One of the things is the images often are updated more regularly for the more populated areas. So you might find, yes, that Accra and Kumasi, Cape Coast, those heavily populated areas and Tamale get updated more frequently. In a village, you might not find a lot of locations because there's not yet known points of interest that people are looking for.
The Google Country Manager explains that just by entering origin and destination on Google Map or Navigator, a user is given both driving and walking directions, including distances and alternative routes.
For a while now, you've been able to get directions, whether sitting in your car or whether walking, that tell you in text, you need to take a left here, you need to take a right there. What we've done now is improve the safety of that, because you're not meant to be driving and using your phone at the same time. So you can now have a voice tell you, in 5 meters, take a turning left. If you miss that turning, it will automatically redirect you and say, take the next right in 5 minutes. And when you reach your destination, it will say you're now at your destination.
Users, according to Google, can also enrich the maps by adding locations of public places using its MapMaker application.
To use MapMaker, there's the Add New button where you could add a place, add roads, rivers, railways, add building outlines, then natural features, maybe lakes, ponds, and what have you.
The company, meanwhile, says it is also collaborating with government to get public data online. They are also mapping all polling stations in Ghana to help users to easily identify where they have to vote during an election.
We'll now bring you some smart investment tips. A couple of comments and then I'll wrap up. Richard Yakumson says, in fact, if care is not taken, this strike action will ruin this country. The doctors should be paid so that they can continue their work. And Francis Akon says, the ministers appointed by government with their... okay, I'll skip that. And the president should sack them, period. No wasting time. Because they are good for nothing. Will be used. We will use local herbs. It's about time we go back to our roots. And Ice C. Kwashi says, government should pay them all. That'll be it. Before we go a quick round through our top stories, government's optimistic of a meeting of all parties involved in the current strike by doctors tomorrow would produce a fruitful outcome. The Kolebu Teaching Hospital has denied closure of its children's block over doctors' strike. Counsel for the Electoral Commission in the election petition hearing today took over with cross-examination of the petitioner's chief witness, Dr. Mamadou Baumia. Now, living in the vicinity of the Kutska International Airport could be prestigious, but the EPA is warning it could, in the long term, cost you the ability to hear well. And an 8-story building has collapsed in Bangladesh, claiming nearly 90 lives. That'll be it. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com.